let's say, based on the principle, we can say that zero trust means never assume a trust. This is point number one. Point number two, always verify or continuously verify. And the last thing is to enforce the least privilege. And in Cisco, we believe that zero trust should be taken in a holistic approach. So zero trust, you need it for, you need to have it with principles, you need to have it with a strategy, you need to have it as part of your platform, you need to have zero trust capabilities, technologies, and even features. So it is not only, as I said in the beginning, it's not only a product, it's not a feature, it's a strategy, and the most important thing, it should be a mindset. So, Cisco recommends zero trust strategy. This zero trust strategy should be embedded inside your multi-environment IT. When I say multiple environment, something inside your application, as I said, devices, network, whatever it is, on-premise, cloud, across multiple environment, across multiple branches, and across multiple data centers. So with that, you can protect the integrity of your business by securing the access to the application in a way that you can frustrate the attacker, not the user. And here today we have a trade-off. If we have an application, okay, and we need to make it very usable, we need to make it very easy for the users, then in this case, we need to make it unsecure in a way, or let's say we need to list or make the security somehow unforced related to the application. So today we have a trade-off between high productivity and high customer, or let's say user experience when they are dealing with the application, and at the same time we need to make it secure. And let's be very transparent in this case. If you have a stronger security controls in an application, this will impact in a way the user experience and the user productivity for accessing this application. So in order to solve this trade-off, we can make a zero trust sweet spot. So to have a secure access, to have the access to this application secure, and make it at the same time usable, make it highly productive. So what we can do in order to get the zero trust right? First of all, we need to establish the trust. Second, we need to enable trust-based access. The third thing is to have a continuous trust verification. And the fourth one, to respond to respond to a change in trust. So in case there is a change in trust, if the user is trusted now, but it is not trusted after 15 minutes, we need to take an action, we need to respond. So let me start first with establishing a trust. So user starts authentication. After the user is verified, the device is verified, then the user can get access to the application. And let's remember that we have two things. The first one is strong security and highly productive. So strict security in this case, we can have it with multiple MFA option. If we need to have it as MFA, we have multiple MFA option, starting from push, verified push, SMS, token, phone calls, using your, let's say, watch. You have multiple options in order to have a strong security. This is for the user trust. For device trust, you can ensure that the device hygiene is okay. As example, the firewall is enabled, your EDR technology is enabled, so you can do that before allowing access to the application. And this is not related to the NAC technology. So this is when you try to access an application from any browser or from your machine or from a different machines, you can enforce this level of security. And the last thing, you can set adaptive policy when you are trying to access an application. It means that you can have a global policy, you can have per app policy, per user policy, per group policy when you are trying to access an application. How we can get this as highly productive? Users can authenticate in seconds, so it is not a rocket science. It's something simple, and you can get up and running. You can get this technology or this architecture up and running in a few days and with a minimum amount of cases or calls to your operation team. After that, we can go to the next level, which is enforced trust-based access. So users require access to an internal application from a managed device or unmanaged device. So from your device, from a device that it is part of your Active Directory or part of your endpoint control, or from your mobile device, which is completely unmanaged. So user requires access. Users can get the access directly from any browser. Okay, so it is not limited to a browser. They can get it from any browser without the need for a VPN technology or let's say secure connectivity technology. And users after that they can get the access to this application, and they can do the required whatever. They can get only the resources they are allowed to access. With that, you can establish the explicit trust, means it's a closed model. So in this case, you will be only allowed to access this application or this part of the application. You can even extend that to, let's say, a non-secure protocols like RDP or SSH. So you can start with HTTP and HTTPS, and also you can extend it to RDP and SSH as well, and even you can extend it to SMB. And as I said, you can have it as well part of your managed or unmanaged. So you can have the right policy for bring your own devices, so any user can access the application from any browser or from any device. How we can make it high productive? As I said, you can have it for any type of application, whatever it is internal or even external, using any browser. It is scalable, no need for any VPN technology. You don't need to dial in, you don't need to have a username and password. So in this case, you don't need to dial in, and you have a VPN connectivity, so easily you can reduce the latency. And the last thing, it is supported in a hybrid environment. Whatever you have it on-premise, whatever it is internal application, external application, SaaS application, you can have it. You can integrate with your identity provider, with your single sign-on technology. This is something you can have it, and this will make it highly productive for the users. Then, and this is the most important point, the continuously verified trust or the trust verification, the continuous trust verification. So user is already authenticated, but all of a sudden, because of, let's say, a malware, because of some infection or a breach, the firewall is disabled, and or let's say your EDR technology, endpoint detection and response, your antivirus, anti-malware technology also is disabled. In this case, you can take a remediation action by revoking the access for the device and the user from the application. Okay, and the user will be, as a part of the remediation, the user will be prompted again to re-authenticate, taking into consideration that the firewall, as example, should be enabled. So now we are talking about signal, and I will use this terminology, signal. So the signals here in this case, you can share it with the technology in order to detect a change in the risk, leverage context awareness, GeoIP, Wi-Fi fingerprint, and I will go into details for that, and authentication history. So as example, if you are used to authenticate from Riyadh, and all of a sudden you are authenticating, or we received an authentication request to access an application from, let's say, one of the GCC countries, then in this case, this will reduce the trust from the user, and this will enforce a different layer of security when they are trying to access the application. How we can make it high productive? Work without interruption. So session will be extended if you are trusted. You don't need to re-authenticate, let's say, multiple times in order to get access to the application. But in case you are below the trust threshold, then in this case you can take a remediation action. Respond to a change in trust, firewall is disabled, trust is lost, and application access is revoked. In this case, the analyst, your security team, will be alerted, and they can quickly investigate why we have this, let's say, trust loss, and based on that, they can investigate if there is a breach, if there is let's say, any malicious activity running on the machine. So if the analyst find the malware, they can even signal to the EDR technology in order to isolate or disconnect the user, or let's say the device, from the network. So you can detect breaches early, you can easily prevent data theft and lateral movement, and how you can get it highly productive. Again, you can work without interruption, and you can accelerate any threat response in case there is any data breach. You can easily detect it and you can easily stop it. So if we need to recap, so we can go with established trust, enforce trust-based access, continuously verify the trust, and the last thing, respond to a change on trust. As I said, it can be extended or implemented across users, devices, network, application, and data, whatever it is on-premise or cloud. So the main concept, or the second main concept for Zero Trust, is to do continuous verification for the trust. So continuous trust verification. The main concept, or let's say the main principle for Zero Trust, is never trust, always verify. So if user is trying to authenticate and get access to the application, we need to do something, we call it RBA, risk-based authentication. RBA means that depending only on the IP address with this hybrid, let's say, structure or hybrid technologies that we have is not sufficient, is not enough. That's why we need to depend on multiple signals in order to do the risk-based authentication. So let's assume that, as I said in my example, today you are connecting from Saudi Arabia. If you are trying to connect from, let's say, different country, then in this case we can take an action and make the authentication for you. The authentication experience is completely different. So today in Saudi Arabia, this is something, as a solution, we know for sure that this is your main behavior. If this behavior change, then we will change the way how you will authenticate. So instead of having normal push or normal SMS, we will make it verified push. Okay? So, or we can block the access, or we can remember the session, or we can go to a passwordless MFA authentication. So this is something adaptive, and you can have it based on the signal or based on the risk signal analysis. One of the examples is Wi-Fi footprint. So let's assume that the solution knows that you are connecting from your Wi-Fi, let's say, at the office and Wi-Fi at home. But all of a sudden, we receive an authentication request from a public Wi-Fi. So in this case, we will not block the access, but we will change the way we authenticate the user from a normal push to a verified push. So in this case, you need to enter, let's say, the code that you have on the screen in order to get the access. If you are connecting from a public Wi-Fi network, and this public Wi-Fi network, it is outside the country, then in this case we can change it to a way that you need to scan a barcode and you need to enter, let's say, a verified push or a token in order to authenticate. So with this, we can simply block any MFA spam, or let's say the spam push, in order to authenticate the users or to authenticate the real users, and also to respond to a change on the signals. So first of all, you can evaluate, and based on this evaluation, you can adopt the technology. So if it is low risk, less friction, maybe you can go with a normal 2FA, but if it is high risk, then you can shift it to a verified push. The second part of the continuous trust verification is the session trust analysis. Today, we have a completely different attack surface. Access solution continue to improve, but also the trust at logins should not last with the user for a long time. So once you authenticate it for the first time, you will get this trust level or trust point. And as an organization, you can simply define the risk threshold. This is something you can define part of your, let's say, configuration or part of your strategy. Now, if the user continue with this trust, it will lower with time, but it will not get below the threshold you already configured, or let's say you already defined. So in this case, the session can be extended, and this will decrease the time the user needs to re-authenticate, and also this will decrease the amount of, let's say, authentication or response from the user when they are trying to access an application. But now, if you go below the risk, the threshold, the line that you already defined, then in this case you need to take a remediation action, or you need to remediate. And with that, you can remediate by, let's say, revoking the access, locking the user, locking the device, or ask the user again to re-authenticate. So with this, we are continuously assessing the risk, and also continuously assessing the trust. And based on that, as I said, we can remediate, and we can remediate the action, or continue with remediate with the action, or continue with a trust session. I will stop here. If you have any question, feel free to visit us at the booth. We have multiple technologies presented there. Zero Trust is one of them. SASE is one of them. Security Services Edge is one of them. And also the XDR technology. If you need to learn more how we can integrate the Zero Trust technology with XDR technology in order to remediate the action, visit us at the booth, and you will learn more about our technologies and integration. With that, I would like to thank you very much, and feel free to ask if you have any